All right, so this is what we did on Thursday. Thursday is using point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So all you have to do is you plug in your point, plug in your slope, and then you simplify from there. So on the first one, we should have y minus my y term, which is 6, equals my slope, x minus my x term, which is 4. Is that what you have? Yep. All right. So then we simplify the right side. By distribution, y minus 6 equals 2x minus 8. And then we have, add the 6 over, so y equals 2x minus 2. Yes. Plug it in regardless. Just plug it in regardless. Okay? Can you guys see that red or not, really? No. It's tough to see, isn't it? Is that better? Yeah. Okay, second one. We should have y minus my y term equals my slope, x minus my x term. All right, so from there, we have both of them turn into a plus. So this is y plus 3 equals negative 4, x plus 2. Okay, so then we distribute the right side. Y plus 3 equals negative 4x minus 8. And then we subtract the 3 across. So we should have y equals negative 4x minus 11. All right. We were a little bit off over there. How'd you get a 3 and then subtract a 6? Okay. All right. Now, 3 and 4. We have to find our slope first. So to find our slope, we use our slope formula. Our slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So, start by finding our slope. So we're going to have 5 minus 7 over 1 minus 2. That's going to give me negative 2 over negative 1, or just a positive 2. Is that what we had? Yeah. Okay, so then we plug in that in one of our points. So it looks like you use the first point. So we get y minus 7 equals 2 times x minus 2. Distribute, so y minus 7 equals 2x minus 4. Add the 7 across, so y equals 2x plus 3. All right, good. Last one, you found the slope. Just didn't do the second part. So we have 8 minus a negative 5, and then 0 minus a negative 1. So on top, we're going to have 5 and 8 is going to be 13 over positive 1. So my slope is going to be 13. So we use that, and I'll use this guy here. So y minus my y term equals my slope, x minus my x term. All right, so I have y minus 8 equals 13x. 13 times 0 is 0, so we don't have to do anything there. And then we add the 8 across, so y is going to be 13x plus 8. All right, questions? Anybody? Questions? All right, so that was our review. You're going to have 2 assignments here, one from today, one from tomorrow. So your first assignment is just going to be, oh my goodness. All right, your first assignment is going to be some more work on this stuff, as well as our new lesson for today. So any questions on that? All right, let's move into today. All right, so here's today. 5-5 is standard form. All right, standard form is another way that we can look at an equation of a line. So in standard form, things are kind of shuffled a bit. All right. You don't see your slope right away. You don't see your y-intercept right away. It's going to just in a form that's slightly different than what we've looked at before. All right, so standard form is this. Standard form of linear equation is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are real numbers, and a and b are both not zero. Okay, so ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are real numbers, and a and b are not both zero. They would both be zero, then you don't have any variables, and it would just be 0 equals a number, which is a false statement. All right, so I'll give you a minute to copy that. All right, we good? Another minute. Good. All right. So, first thing, if we want to transform an equation into standard form. Okay, so transform an equation into, it should say into, not just in. All right, so what we have to do is you have to get x and y terms on the left side, whole numbers on the right side. You want to make sure the coefficients of x and y are integers, so we need those to be whole numbers. And we need the a term to be positive. All right, and if 2 and 3, if either one of those are not satisfied, then we just multiply. For number 2, if one of them is a fraction, multiply by whatever is on the bottom of the fraction. That'll get rid of the fraction. And the second thing is if it's a negative, you just multiply everything by -1. And when you do that, you have to do it to every single term. All right. So first one there, we have y equals 3x minus 2. So to get to standard form, we have to put all the variables on the left side, all the whole numbers on the right side. All right, so right now, the y is on the left side, x is on the right side. So let's subtract the 3x over. All right, subtract it from both sides. So now I have negative 3x plus y equals negative 2. Okay, so if we have that, now the next problem is we got to make sure they're both positive whole numbers. Well, one's positive, we'll make sure the other one's a whole number. Okay, so let's see if I can change this color. All right, so right here is an issue for us right now. All right, that negative sign out front. So we have to find a way to get rid of that negative. How can I get rid of a negative? Multiply by -1. All right, so I am going to multiply everything by -1. Why is that? Can I change it? That's just weird. Oh, here we go. All right, so I need to multiply everything by -1. So I multiply everything by -1. -1, -3 is going to be positive 3x. And then I have minus y is equal to a positive 2. That's way easier to see, isn't it? Okay, so now is my a and b terms, are they whole numbers? Yeah, I have a 3 and a 1. And is my a term positive? Yes, I have a positive 3x. So I'm in good shape. Does that make sense? All right, let's try the second one. So y equals 1/2 x plus 4. All right, so first thing, I have to get all my x's to the x's and y's to the left side, whole numbers to the right. So I'm going to subtract a 1/2 x from both sides. Okay, so that leaves me with negative 1/2 x plus y is equal to positive 4. Now I have two problems here. One, it's my a term is a fraction, and it's also a negative. So I need to get rid of both of those. How could I do that?
Multiply by negative 2?
Yeah. All right, we would want to multiply by 2 to get rid of the fraction. Then we'd have to multiply by negative 1 to get rid of the negative. So if we do it in one step, we can just multiply everything by negative 2. So we multiply by negative 2. 2 times 1/2 is going to be 1. So that's going to be a positive 1. And we have negative 2 times 1 is going to be negative 2y. And then negative 2 times 4 is going to be negative 8. All right. The biggest mistake people make on these is they don't multiply the number on the right side whenever you multiply. Okay, so a lot of people would put, for the one we just did, where you get the answer, x minus 2y is equal to 4, because they wouldn't multiply the right side. Just be careful with that. Okay? Questions so far? Yes?
Y is probably different.
Good? Okay. All right, so 3 and 4. Try them right now on your own. I'll go back in 1 second here. All right, so you're doing 3 and 4. Get them to standard form. Variables on the left, whole numbers on the right. Variables, the coefficients of the variables must be a integer. A term must be positive.
easy, like,
Yeah.
plain.
I actually lost.
Solar was
The same as 2.
fine, yeah,
We're the same as
except for it's a negative fraction.
2.
But then that just makes it easier. You got this, Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah, I kept reaching like 3 weeks ago. Same as yesterday. This whole class, this guy had to sit on. Multiply by no. And you said, are we in the hood? No, you told on me whenever I had my mask on and my hood on.
All right, put your hood down, Dick. There you go.
Don't come down and stuff.
Is there a fraction?
I can rip it off.
Is there a negative in it?
Okay.
Then it's right.
Is it a plus sign or a negative?
1 minute. Because there isn't a negative in there, they have to.
Got it.
What?
Okay, while he's finishing it, we'll look at number 3. Let him be.
Multiply that.
Let him be. Okay. So, first one, we subtracted the negative 4x over from both sides. That's going to give us negative 4x plus y equals 3. Okay, the only problem there is it's a negative, so we multiply by negative 1 to everything. That's going to give us positive 4x minus y equals negative 3. And that looks correct. All right, on the second one. Second one, we add the negative 3x over, or negative 1/3 x to both sides. All right, that's going to give us 1/3 x plus y equals 5. Then multiply everything by 3. We have 3 times 1/3 is going to be 1, so we have x plus 3y equals 15. So you did fine.
So what if then I multiplied that whole problem by 4? Like that second problem? How you get the negative 4y negative 4x plus y equals 3. I just went and multiplied that whole thing by negative 4.
Why?
I don't know.
All right, you don't have to multiply by a number unless it's a fraction.
Oh, would that still be right?
No. It would be a form of it, but it's not simplified. Okay? So you only need to multiply by a number if you have a fraction.
It doesn't say anything.
You only need to multiply by a number if it's a fraction. And you multiply by a negative number if it is a negative. Yes?
Number 4 would be x plus y equals 5.
No.
Where'd you get that?
All you did was multiply your first number by 3. So you multiply 1, you got to multiply them all.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't know if this thing's still working or not.
Would there be other variables in there, like for a number?
No, it'll just be x's and y's. All right? All right. So let's keep going here. So any questions on transforming to standard form? I think that's pretty simple. All right, you're just x's and y's on one side. Make sure they're both whole numbers, and make sure your a term's not negative. All right. So next thing, we can talk about intercepts. So an x-intercept is the point where your line crosses the x-axis on the graph. And your x-intercept every single time is going to be an x value, and your y value is 0. Okay? Your y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis on a graph. Anytime you have a y-intercept, you have a y value, and your x can be 0. So for instance, we might have this point. This is an x-intercept that's crossing the x-axis. This might be 4, 0. We'll say that this guy up here is at 3, so we have the point 0, 3. Okay? Anytime you have an intercept, if it's an x-intercept, you have an x value, and your y value is 0. If you have a y-intercept, you're going to have a y value with a x value of 0.
What if the cross is right in the middle?
What?
What if the cross is right in the middle?
Then that's your x and y-intercept both. That'd be 0, 0.
So what would you call that?
It would be an x-intercept and a y-intercept. All right. I'll give you a second to get that written down. All right, so keep that in mind of if it's x, you have a 0 for y. If it's y, you have a 0 for x. Okay, keep that in mind when we're going forward. So the nicest thing about standard form is we can find our intercepts pretty quick. Okay, this is kind of the standard spot to do it at. So if we want to solve, we're going to solve for intercepts. What you want to do is 3-step process. 1, you want to make it into 2 columns. And I'll show you how I like to do it. All right, you have to solve the problem twice. To find your x-intercept, you plug a 0 in for y and solve it. For your y-intercept, you plug a 0 in for x and solve it. Just like we talked about was if you have the intercept, you have talking x-intercept, you're always going to have a value of 0 for y. So let's plug a 0 in for y. If we have a y-intercept, we're always going to have a 0 as our x term. Plug a 0 in. Okay, then we write the values as 2 points. And then you can also graph these lines using your intercepts as well. All right, and at the bottom, I put something called the cover-up method. I'll show you this here in a couple problems. Just kind of a shortcut. That's a step or so off. I'll let you write that down, then we'll look at a couple examples here. All right. You ready to see an example? So, here we go. We have some examples now. All right, so on the first one, what you want to do is take it and split it into two columns. So, I'll show you how I like to do it. I like to go X column, Y column. All right? So then for my X column, I want to put a 0 in for Y. So I'm going to have 2x plus 4 times 0 equals 8. Okay? And then in my Y column, I'm going to put a 0 in for X. So 2 times 0 plus 4y equals 8. All right, now simplify each one of those individually. So 4 times 0 is just 0. So I'm left with 2x equals 8. Divide both sides by 2. What's x going to be? X equals 4. And then over here, do the same thing. This is going to be 0. So I have 4y equals 8. Divide both sides by 4. X is going to be 2. Sorry, y. Y is going to be 2. All right, so now I was looking for 2 points, right? So my x is 4. We just found that. Now, when x is 4, what was my 0 here? Sorry, what was my y? It was 0, right? Gave you that. So I plugged in a 0 for y, so therefore my point for my x-intercept is going to be 4, 0. All right, over on the y side of things, for my point, I'm going to have 2 as my y value. What's my x value? 0. So there I was able to find the intercepts of both of those.
Is that all we gotta do?
That's all you got to do to find the intercepts. Questions on number 1? All right, I'll show you the cover-up method for number 2. All right, so in number 2, if I want to do the cover-up method, I still am going to do my 2 x and y columns, okay? But I'm going to save you the first step in both of this, all right? So if I want to find my x-intercept, what I want you to do is cover up your y term, okay? I'm left with just 3x equals 18, right? So in the x column, 3x equals 18. Then do the same thing in the y column. Cover up your x term. So if you cover up your x term, you're left with negative 6y equals 18. So all I did was take out that first step where I'm plugging a 0 in. Because you're going to do the same thing every time. You plug a 0 in every time. And what happens? Well, that whole term just goes away, doesn't it? Anything times 0 is going to be 0. So if that's the case, you're going to be left with just this each time that you're looking for your intercepts. Your x term equal to something for your x-intercept. Your y term equal to something for your y-intercept. So we simplify that. What's 18 divided by 3? X is 6. Over here, what's 18 divided by negative 6? Negative 3. Okay? So then this point here is going to be 6, 0. This point here is going to be 0, negative 3. That makes sense? Okay? Now, the only thing, if you use the cover-up method, you just have to be a little careful. It makes it easier to solve, but don't forget that you plugged a 0 in. Okay? So whenever you're getting your final 2 points, make sure that you get the x is 6, then you have 6, 0. And then when y is negative 3, you have 0, negative 3. All right? All right, try the last 2.
What do you for breakfast this morning?
So on the first one, we're going to do the cover-up method. We have our we still do our x column and our y column. So my x column, I'm going to have 5x equals 20. Divide both sides by 5. X is going to be 4. So then I have the point 40. Looks good. Second one, we got negative 4y equals 20. Divide both sides by negative 4. And then y is going to be negative 5. So I have 0, negative 5 as my points. All right, and then you can do it either way. If you want to plug in, if you plug in the 0, that's perfectly fine. If you want to do the cover-up method, that's fine. You're going to get the same answer both ways. All right, then the last one, number 4, we have our x and y columns. X is going to be 6x equals negative 24. Y is going to be 8y equals negative 24. Okay, so this one here, we divide both sides by 6. X is going to be negative 4. So my point is negative 4, 0. Over here, divide both sides by 8. Y is going to be negative 3. So I'd have 0, negative 3. Okay, questions? All right, so I'm going to do something here. So let's go back to another problem here. Let's make it just go simple. Let's go 2x plus 4y equals 8. Okay? Really, really simple. Now, if I say to you, I want to graph this, and I want to graph using intercepts. Okay, so we're going to graph using intercepts. All right, we do exactly the same thing. Find your intercepts first. Okay, so find your intercepts, x and y. So I have 2x equals 8. I have 4y equals 8. So this guy here, I get x equals 4. So it's going to be 4, 0. And then over here, divide both sides by 4. So y is going to be 2. So I have 0, 2. All right, then if I want to graph this, if I want to graph it on there, all right, just put those 2 points on. So 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. It's my x-intercept. It's on the x-axis. All right, then my y-intercept is going to be at 0, 2. 0, and then 1, 2 goes right there. So I got my 2 intercepts graphed on there. So I want to draw the line. I just connect the dots. Okay, so that's pretty simple there. Questions on that?
Are we gonna have a problem like that?
Possibly. All right, and then let's just review here real quick. Review what formulas and stuff we have. So first thing, make sure you have this stuff written down somewhere. All right, this is where we're at in this chapter. Our slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, that's our slope formula. That's how we find slope between 2 points. Okay, we have, better put that form. Okay, we have our slope intercept form, which is what we want to, anytime we make a line, we want to leave it in this form unless something tells us otherwise. Slope intercept form is going to be y equals mx plus b. Remember, m is your slope, b is your y-intercept. Okay, a variable. Okay, then we have point slope formula, like I told you. I like to call it formula, not form. Book's going to call it form. All right, so point slope formula is how you find an equation if you're given a point and a slope. So point slope formula, I have y minus y1 equals my slope x minus x1. All right, and into that, your y1 and x1 is where your points go. All right, you only have to use 1 point. And then your slope goes in for m. And then to simplify it, you have to distribute the right side, then add that term from the left over. Add or subtract it. All right, then the last thing, the one we added today, standard form. If we have something in standard form, it's going to be in the form ax plus by equals c. All right, and anytime you have this, all your variables are on the left, whole numbers are on the right. All your variable coefficients, your a and b terms, must be whole numbers. It could be integers of any sort, and your a term has to be positive. Okay, so this is the four we have right now. Any questions? No? Feeling good? Okay, so